I'm George Rubin. Served in the Army Air Force in the Second World War, a gunner on a B-17 bomber in England.
My name is Daniel Wright, and I'm a senior at Millville High School.
My name is Manuel Melendez, and I'm a senior at the Millville High School as well.
What were you doing before you got into service?
I was in high school, like you two. That's why I asked your age. Because that year, 1943, most of us were seniors in high school and excited because we were going to go to war. And I'd say most of the class, including our principal and our superintendent, had already been in service. So I would say 90% of our class, and it was a big class. I went to a school called Rasmus Hall High School. You might have heard of Barbara Streisand, was one of the graduates. Everybody was ready, either had enlisted or were drafted by May of that year, before we even got our diplomas.
And were you drafted, or did you
I was
enlist?
drafted,
Okay.
yeah. But as soon as I was drafted, I said I wanted to fly. I always wanted to fly. I loved it. I spent a lot of time at the airport. I still have pictures in those days of those rinky-dinky old aircraft. I had never flown, no, before then, no.
Were you drafted to?
Okay, when I was drafted, I went into basic training in Greensboro, North Carolina. And after that, being in the Air Force, I became an Air Force cadet at High Point College. It's now a university in High Point, North Carolina. Unfortunately, after, I would say, 2/3 of my way through training, they had an overabundance of pilots. And so I was reclassified to go to Armament School in Denver, Colorado, to become what was known as an armor gunner. This was a position on any aircraft to handle all the guns, all the bombs. And I had technical training there. Then I went on to Texas to did my first flying as a gunner and met my crew. This all happened in end of 43 into early 1944.
And around what time did you go over to England?
Okay, in 44 we had all our training, met our crew, and we trained in El Paso, Texas, big field, and then went on to Lincoln, Nebraska, where we got our aircraft, and it was the last time we saw our families. There were 2 members of our crew who were married, their wives came. My mother and father came out to Lincoln, Nebraska. From there we took our aircraft and flew it to England by way of Manchester, New Hampshire, Goose Bay, Labrador, Iceland, which we almost couldn't find. In those days, there wasn't the technology you have today, so it was radio signals. And those crews who didn't find it either were lost at sea or flew into occupied Germany. And we lost a number of men that way. From Iceland, we flew into Wales, where our aircraft was taken over, and we were sent to our air base. I was sent to an air base in Sudbury, England, the 486 Bomb Group, which is just north of London. It's a beautiful little town. If any of you ever travel to England, it's worth seeing. All types of memorials, and they do a yearly memorial for our group there, for our Air Force group. We became a very integrated part of that community at Sudbury for the years we were there. And this takes us all through 1944.